Good morning. Welcome back to Bread Day 87. Today we're coming to you live from my courtyard. I just thought that it would be a fun thing to come out here this morning and do this like this. This is where my husband and I like to come out in the mornings and have our devotional time. We usually wait until we have lighting where we can read, but as the days get a little bit longer, we'll have light in the morning, very early in the morning, and we love coming out here and doing this before there's a lot of activity going on. So we've dealt with a little bit of issues this morning setting this up because we had to have light set out here. So we have moths flying and things like that. But you know what? That's the thing, is that we should not let anything get in the way of our time with God. Even though we may run into snags, we may run into hurdles, we may run into things that just are taking us in another direction, when we make sure that our time, especially first thing in the morning, is spent with God, God is going to take us in another direction, and He's going to lead us, and our day will be productive. Our day will be, it'll just change. It'll just change your whole day, and it'll change your perspective, and it'll change your outlook. So when we left off yesterday, David was now running from Saul, and he ran into the cave. So we're going to continue today. I'm so anxious. We're almost finished with Samuel. We'll be finished with Samuel in a few more days. And then I'm just so anxious whenever we start into the book of 2 Samuel and reading about, David is going into his hiding place. He's the running man. He's the running man, and what's happening here. And I'm just anxious to get into so much more of what is happening. And I also want you to just be encouraged. We are, as a world, we're in a battle together as a world. But you know what? The enemy is not winning. The enemy is not winning, and God is showing us new ways to be able to come back together with one another, to get off of our devices. So much spending time with our family. That it's like a friend of mine said, do you feel like God has given us a reset? Yeah, absolutely. I love that one. So this is our opportunity to really get focused more on the things that we need to do. Your schedules are off. My schedule's off, and we're retired. We're retired, and my schedule is completely off. But this is an opportunity that you can really get in with God. You can really focus on your family time and being given time with your children. You guys, it's like another friend of mine said, you're being given such a unique opportunity. How many times, without it being a vacation or just days off, do you get time like this with your family? Do you get time to spend with your children to really teach them? Do you get time to pour into your children and to just love on them? Yeah, it's not going to all go right. Okay? It's not going to all go right, and that is okay. What's more important is the time that you're investing together as a family. So, all right, open up your Bibles. Let's read. We're going to start reading in 1 Samuel 22. And this is when David's escaped to the cave. So David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. Soon his brothers and all other relatives joined him there. Now that's interesting. I never even realized that one myself. And I've read this several times. Soon his brothers and all his other relatives joined him there. Then others began coming, men who were in trouble or in debt, who were just discontented, until David was the captain of about 400 men. Now remember that we read with the children of Israel that there was always a city of refuge, but this is not the case, but it's kind of what we're seeing happen for some of them. But he's in a cave hiding out. He's in a cave hiding out. Later, David went to Mizpah in Moab, where he asked the king, please allow my father and mother to live here with you until I know what God is going to do for me here. Until I know what God is going to do for me. So David's parents stayed in Moab with the king during the entire time David was living in his stronghold. One day, the prophet Gad told David, leave the stronghold and return to the land of Judah. So David went to the forest of Hereth. The news of the arrival in Judah soon reached Saul. At the time, the king was sitting beneath the tamarisk tree on a hill in Gibeah, holding his spear and surrounded by his officers. Listen here, you men of Benjamin. Saul shouted to his officers when he heard the news, "Has that son of Jesse promised every one of you fields and vineyards? Has he promised to make you all generals and captains in his army? Is that why you have conspired against me? For not one of you told me when my own son made a solemn pact with the son of Jesse. You're not even sorry for me. Think of it, my own son encouraging him to kill me as he is trying to do this very day." So Saul is whimpering here. He's angry, and he's trying to get other people's pity as well, even though Saul is the one that is doing things that is against the Lord. Remember, the Lord turned his heart from him. Then Doeg the Edomite, who was standing there with Saul's men, spoke up. "When I was at Nob," he said, "I saw the son of Jesse talking to the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub. Ahimelech consulted the Lord for him. Then he gave him food and the sword of Goliath, the Philistine." King Saul immediately sent for Ahimelech and all his family who served as priests at Nob. When they arrived, Saul shouted at him, "Listen to me, you son of Ahitub." "What is it, my king?" Ahimelech said. "Why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me?" Saul demanded. "Why did you give him food and a sword? Why have you consulted God for him? Why have you encouraged him to kill me as he is trying to do this very day?" "But sir," Ahimelech replied, "is anyone among all your servants as faithful as David, your son-in-law?" "Pardon me." "Why, he is captain of your bodyguard and a highly honored member of your household. This was certainly not the first time I had consulted God for him. May the king not accuse me and my family in this matter, for I knew nothing at all of any plot against you. You will surely die, Ahimelech, along with your entire family," the king shouted, and he ordered his bodyguards, "Kill these priests of the Lord, for they are all allies and conspirators with David. They knew he was running away from me, but they didn't tell me." But Saul's men refused to kill the Lord's priests. Then the king said to Doeg, "You do it." So Doeg the Edomite turned on them and killed them that day, 85 priests in all, still wearing their priestly garments. Then he went to Nob, the town of priests, and killed the priests' families, men and women, children and babies, and all the cattle, donkey, and sheep. I cannot imagine. In the Bible, I just read in the scripture the other day, and now I can't think of it, but it tells us to touch not the Lord's anointed. Touch not thine anointed. When God has called someone, and here God has called these priests, and I cannot imagine the hailstorm that came upon Doeg and his family, even possibly for generations, because of what he did. You are walking out of the presence of God. You're walking out from the umbrella of his protection whenever you touch God's anointed. I want you to understand something as I say this, okay? You don't have to agree with everything your pastor says. You don't have to agree with everything your pastor wants to do. You don't even have to agree with this vision. But you need to pray for him, and you need to support him, and you need to not speak against him. And you know what happens when you pray for your pastor? You begin to love him more. You begin to understand the vision because God has opened your eyes. You begin to support the vision and work for the vision. You begin to catch the vision. But if the vision should be wrong, if your pastor is wrong, your pastor is being prayed for by you, and all of a sudden God is moving in his heart and in his life. See, you don't touch God's anointed. You let God take care of it. It's not your job. It's not your job to do it. It's your job to love, pray, and support. Only Abiathar, one of the sons of Ahimelech, escaped and fled to David. When he told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord, David exclaimed, "I knew it. When I saw Doeg the Edomite there that day, I knew he was sure to tell Saul. Now I have caused the death of all your father's family. Stay here with me and don't be afraid. I will protect you with my own life, for the same person wants to kill us both." Chapter 23. One day news came to David that the Philistines were at Keilah, stealing grain from the threshing floors. David asked the Lord, "Should I go and attack them?" "Yes, go and save Keilah," the Lord told him. But David's men said, "We're afraid even here in Judah.
We certainly don't want to go to Keilah to fight the whole Philistine army. So David asked the Lord again and again. The Lord replied, go down to Keilah, for I will help you conquer the Philistines. So David and his men went to Keilah. They slaughtered the Philistines and took all their livestock and rescued the people of Keilah. Now when Abiathar, son of Ahimelech, fled to David at Keilah, he brought the ephod with him. Saul soon learned that David was at Keilah. Good, he exclaimed. We've got him now. God has handed him over to me, for he has trapped himself in a walled town. So Saul mobilized his entire army to march to Keilah and besieged David and his men. But David learned of Saul's plan and told Abiathar the priest to bring the ephod and asked the Lord what he should do. Then David prayed, O Lord God of Israel, I have heard that Saul is planning to come and destroy Keilah. Because I am here. Will the leaders of Keilah betray me to him? Will Saul actually come as I have heard? O Lord, God of Israel, please tell me. And the Lord said, he will come. Again, David asked, will the leaders of Keilah betray me and my men to Saul? And the Lord replied, yes, they will betray you. Now imagine this. God is calling him there. He's asking him, and God's telling him, yeah. I mean, it's not going to go well. But who's it not going to go well for? David and the men, about 600 of them now, left Keilah and began roaming the countryside. Word soon reached Saul that David had escaped, so he didn't go to Keilah after all. David now stayed in the strongholds of the wilderness and in the hill country of Ziph. Saul hunted him day after day, but God didn't let Saul find him. One day near Horesh, David received the news that Saul was on his way to Ziph. Oh, pardon my yawning, I'm cold. It's a little bit of a chill out here today. Let's start that verse again, 15. One day near Horesh, David received news that Saul was on his way to Ziph to search for him and kill him. Jonathan went to find David and encouraged him to stay strong in his faith and God. Jonathan went to find him and encouraged him to stay strong in his faith in God. Not God. Don't be afraid, Jonathan reassured him. My father will never find you. You are going to be the king of Israel. Saul's son, King Saul, Saul's son, Jonathan, whom is the rightful heir after Saul, is proclaiming that David will be king. And I will be next to you, as my father Saul is well aware. So the two of them renewed their solemn pact before the Lord. Then Jonathan returned home while David stayed at Horesh. But now the men of Ziph went to Saul in Gibeah and betrayed David to him. We know where David is hiding, they said. He is in the strongholds of Horesh on the hill of Hakilah, which is in the southern part of Jeshimon. Come down whenever you're ready, O king, and we will catch him and head him over to you. The Lord bless you, Saul said. Yeah. That's just a saying for so many people. And remember that. It shouldn't be a saying for you whenever you do that. That should be a declaration. It should be a proclamation, and people should be able to accept that blessing. But if you don't have a relationship with God, you have no business telling other people, the Lord bless you. At last, someone is concerned about me. Go and check again to be sure of where he is staying and who has seen him there. For I know that he is very crafty. Discover his hiding places and come back when you are sure. Then I'll go with you. And if he is in the area at all, I'll track him down, even if I have to search every hiding place of Judah. So the men of Ziph returned home and ahead of Saul. Meanwhile, David and his men had moved into the wilderness of Maon in the Arabah Valley, south of Jeshimon. When David heard that Saul and his men were searching for him, he went even farther into the wilderness to the great rock, and he remained there in the wilderness of Maon. But Saul kept after him in the wilderness. Saul and David were now on opposite sides of a mountain. There's only a mountain between them. It reminds me that God tells us in our faith that we can tell that mountain to be removed and that it be moved. So often we look at a mountain as just being that physical thing. But if we look at the mountain in our lives, or something that's separating, that's causing our prayers, one, to be hindered, or we're not seeing an answer to this prayer, we need to look at that mountain and tell that mountain to move. There is a mountain between the enemy and between God's called. There's a mountain that has to be moved for the victory, for the blessing, and that's the way I see this right now. Saul and David are now on opposite sides of a mountain. Just as Saul and his men began to close in on David and his men, an urgent message reached Saul that the Philistines were raiding Israel again. So Saul quit chasing David and returned to fight the Philistines. Ever since that time, the place where David was camped has been called the Rock of Escape. David then went to live in the strongholds of En-Gedi. See, the mountain was removed. Chapter 24. After Saul returned from fighting the Philistines, he was told that David had gone into the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul chose 3,000 elite troops from all Israel and went to search for David and his men near the rocks of the wild goats. At the place where the road passes some sheepfolds, Saul went into a cave to relieve himself. I love this story. But as it happened, David and his men were hiding farther back in that very cave. Now's your opportunity, David's men whispered to him. Today the Lord is telling you, I will certainly put your enemy into power to do with as you wish. So David crept forward and cut off a piece of the hem of Saul's robe. But then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. See, Saul had been anointed by the Lord. Saul had been called. Remember the full story on this? That he was chosen. So David, and plus as a king, as those in authority, and I tell you that also, that we need to respect those in authority. God has placed them in authority. We see that happening. God placed Saul in authority. We see this happening with David, that even though Saul is doing wrong, he has respect for him. He has great respect for him still. Even though he's after him to kill him, still, he has respect for him. But then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. The Lord knows. Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. The Lord knows I shouldn't have done that to my lord the king, he said to his men. The Lord forbid that I should do this to my lord the king and attack the Lord's anointed one. For the Lord himself has chosen him. So David restrained his men and did not let them kill Saul. After Saul had left the cave and had gone on his way, David came out and shouted after him, my lord the king. And when Saul looked around, David bowed low before him. Then he shouted to Saul, why do you listen to the people who say I'm trying to harm you? This very day you can see with your own eyes it isn't true. For the Lord placed you at my mercy back there in the cave. Some of my men told me to kill you, but I spared you, for I said I will never harm my king. He is the Lord's anointed one. Look, my father, at what I have in my hand. It's a piece of the hem of your robe. I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. This proves that I am not trying to harm you and that I have not sinned against you, even though you have been hunting me to kill me. May the Lord judge between us. Perhaps the Lord will punish you for what you are trying to do to me, but I will never harm you. As that old proverb says, and I love this. I have this highlighted because now he's quoting a proverb, David is. From evil people come evil deeds. So you can be sure that I will never harm you. Who is the king of Israel trying to catch anyway? Should he spend his time chasing one who is as worthless as a dead dog or a single flea? May the Lord therefore judge which of us is right and punish the guilty one. He is my advocate and he will rescue me from your power. When David had finished speaking, Saul called back, is that really you, my son, David? Then he began to cry. And he said to David, you are a better man than I am, for you have repaid me good for evil. Yes, you have been amazingly kind to me today, for when the Lord put me in a place where you could have killed me, you didn't do it. Who else would let his enemy get away when he had him in his power? May the Lord reward you well for the kindness you have shown me today. And now I realize that you are surely going to be king and that the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule. Now swear to me by the Lord that when that happens, you will not kill my family and destroy my line of descendants. Let's just go back and let's read this again, starting with verse 19. No, starting with verse 20. And now I realize, this is Saul speaking to David, whom Saul has already said to Jonathan, you're the one that should be king after me. Why are you helping David? Was already angry at him. And now Saul is saying this to David, and David is not a blood heir with Saul. And now I realize that you are surely to be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule. Now swear to me that you'll spare my family. Now whenever I say he's not that doesn't share the blood, he does share a bloodline, because David is a rightful heir to the throne.
which puts Jesus as the rightful heir to the throne. So, in that they share the bloodline, but he is not a direct descendant from Saul, that he would get that, that the being king would just come to him. Verse 22. So David promised this to Saul with an oath. Then Saul went home, but David and his men went back to their stronghold. I so badly want to just keep reading, but we'll save the rest for tomorrow when we read chapters 25 through 27. So have a very blessed day, you guys. This is the day that the Lord has made. Rejoice and be glad in it. There's so many wonderful things that's going to happen today. I don't care what you hear on the news. I don't care what you see, what is before you. This is still the day the Lord has made, and rejoice in it. When you rejoice in it, you can be glad in it. No matter the circumstance, regardless of what is happening, find the thing that is worthy of praise. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things, there's more to it, but whatsoever things are of good report. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, and there is virtue and there is praise in something, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. Okay, have a blessed day. Wear your beauty from within. Let it shine from without. Wear a smile on your face. Let God allow you to be a blessing to others, and let your heart be open to receive blessings from God. God bless you guys. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you.